Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar called Inside Interact, Content Creation Made Easy. My name is Scott Hitchens. I'm Chief Marketing Officer here at Interact, and I'm really excited to take you through these amazing new features today. There is an opportunity for you to ask questions. We won't have time at the end to come back to these, but what we want to know is what you're interested in seeing more of. If you would like to ask your questions, please vote on either existing questions or post your questions on the right-hand side here, and we'll come back to you after this webinar is finished if you want to learn about anything else in more detail from what you've seen today. For a little bit of background on Interact, we supply organizations, over 1,000 in fact, many global organizations and logos that you'll recognize here on screen, and solve challenges with these organizations around internal communications, really driving engagement and productivity with their employees, no matter where they're based. And what we're here today to talk about is about communication. It's about being able to curate the best kind of content that you possibly can for your employees. And I want to take you through the editor, which you can see a screenshot of on the right-hand side here, and take you through this editor and show you just how easy it is for you, but also not for anybody else inside your business that has author permissions or you want to have author permissions, to really decentralize that publishing experience and make it very, very easy to create this really sort of rich, remarkable content with ease without having to come back or struggle with these old type of editors. To ensure that the content that you're creating really aligns with your inclusivity strategy, and to use multi-channel campaigns to maximum reach to make sure we're going to where people are actually working and alerting them to new intranet content and driving them back to the intranet. And finally, from all of that multi-channel and that push into other systems, really looking at the reach and how the analytics behind the scenes and what's actually driving people back to your intranet. So without further ado, let's dive into the software and let me run you through a sort of tour of all the features that we've got, so you can see what a modern intranet curation experience looks like. So here we are inside a demo site of Interact, fairly agnostic demo site for a made-up company called Inc., but fairly standard layout. And we're going to use this demo site to add some content using the block editing experience. You can see we've got some content here on the homepage, just showing in this zone here. And what we're going to do is add another piece of content that replaces one of these when published. Now, to give some background, we are logged in as somebody called Julia here. Julia is what we call a full admin inside Interact, so I can show you lots of different features as we go around. But what you'll see as we go through is the same experience regardless of what authoring permission you have inside the product. Now, to add content is very self-explanatory. You simply jump straight into this menu called Manage Pages here, and you're immediately presented with all the content that you have permission to edit inside the intranet. In this case, I can see everything because I'm in as a full admin. But if you were just an author inside a particular subsite like IT or marketing, you would only see the content that you have permission to edit. But this area allows you, as any kind of author, to make changes to content as you need to, particularly bulk changes, particularly around something like potentially content governance. And it's really useful in terms of the feedback it gives you on screen around all of the content that already exists. So you can see here it's given the title, where it lives, who published it, etc. We can expand those columns if we want to and show which ones are mandatory read, when they're expiring, the status, etc. But the really clever area or really clever part around this area is that we can start to do some clever filtering if we want to do some bulk changes to content over time. Interact Analytics will alert authors and those with permission around content governance. So content that's about to expire or content that needs to flip into another author, whatever you might need to do to keep that content fresh and relevant. So the way we do that is simply through this filter on the right-hand side here. Let's say I'm looking for content with an expiry date in the past, but you can see there's lots of other options on screen here as well to carry on that filtering if I wanted to. I'm going to save that. And if I wanted to make bulk changes to all of the content that's come back from that filtering, I can simply select them all, edit those selected, and start to make bulk changes over time to keep this content fresh and relevant, whether I want to change the author, published as, set the status to something else, change the publication end or the review date, as you can see here, and make those mass bulk changes over time. So really powerful in terms of the manipulation and management of that content as an intranet matures. But today we're going to add some new content, and it's from the same interface and from this clearly marked button on the right hand side here called Add Page. When we click this, we're presented with a menu with 4 different options. We've got from the bottom, you can create a link, upload to something, use the legacy HTML editor. But today we're going to use the brand new block editor to make it very, very easy, or show you how it's very, very easy to add content, no matter your technical skills. And we're going to add that to our company news area. So we're just going to hit continue here and jump straight into the block editing experience. So here we are inside the block editing experience, and you can see on the right hand side here a menu appears almost immediately called templates. And templates make it very, very easy for you as an organization to create these very effective layouts of content, as you can see on screen here, containing tables, call to actions, imagery, etc. This means authors can pick and choose different templates for different purposes. Maybe it's a policy, a procedure, a news article, whatever it might be, and use those default layouts, swapping out imagery, swapping out call to action buttons, so you've got content consistency when publishing. But today we're not actually going to use the templates, because I want to take you through just the standard block editing experience so you can see how easy it is to put a page together with really sort of remarkable looking content, but with ease. And today we're going to add a piece of content called diversity, equity and inclusion at our made up company called Inc. So we're going to add a title in here across the top. I'm going to leave this page summary blank, which will become, for obvious reasons, that it will become clear as we move through this demonstration. And we're going to start adding content beneath here. Now you can see as I click on this, there's already a paragraph block available to go. From this paragraph block, I could switch this out if I wanted to be a heading, a quote, whatever it might be, or an alert. I can change text in here so it's bold, underlined, colors, whatever it might be, or link it off to something else. But you can see it's really easy to add and remove those blocks, and we can drag them up and down if there are other blocks above one another as well. So if I wanted to remove it, I can simply do that. If I wanted to add more blocks, I can go straight into the block editing menu here on the left hand side. The one you just saw was this paragraph block under text, but you can see there's all sorts of blocks that authors can add to the content. They make it very, very easy to add stuff that's very rich in nature. So further down here under media, imagery, videos, rich links, iframes, attachments. Further down here under layouts, we can do more clever things with columns or accordions, and we'll show a few of those today. And even under functional, we've got things like restricted blocks, mandatory read polls, and recommendations. And again, we'll show a few of those today. But today we're going to build out our diversity, equity, and inclusion example content, and we're going to start with a paragraph here. And I'm grabbing this from a Word document on a separate screen. I'm just pasting it in here so you can see how easy it is to do to speed up this demonstration. So we've got our opening paragraph here and another one beneath that, so we can see it's really easy to add these in. Now we're going to jump off here. Let's remove this one. I'm going to go and add a image block here just to bring this content to life. Now, of course, you can upload some imagery if you wanted to, straight from your laptop. But Internet's got this fantastic built-in stock photography site called Unsplash. So rather than going through the rigmarole of trying to find an associated image, if you're just looking to browse something very, very quickly, for example, if I just search the word people here, Unsplash will search through its database, bring back whatever it can find that we have permission to use and publish inside our intranet, and I can show that on screen very, very easily. Now, if we look on the right-hand side here, already this is suggesting things that I might want to do or change. It's got the URL. I could upload something. I can change the size here if I want to. You'll notice it's brought in the accessibility text as well for AA compliance, and various other styles I can do here as well. Further up on this menu up here, you'll notice some other options. So first of all, I can make this bigger and smaller and drag it on screen. I can remove this if I want to. Some nice features up here as well include the layout of that image, whether it's central, left, and right, but also this. So if I want to zoom in on a certain part of that image, as you can see here, and I'm just using on my Mac, I'm just pinching the trackpad and zooming in and out of that image, and I can crop it accordingly if I want to. So let's apply that to the image. So really easy to add and manipulate images with very, very little technical skills whatsoever. So let's just central align that as well. Now we want to add a few more things to this page. We can see we've got our title, a couple of paragraphs. Let's go and add a few more bits and pieces to this page to speed up the curation process. So further down here, maybe we've got another text block here. I'm going to add another one here, but in this case, it's going to be a quote from our made-up CEO here. So we've got our block here, but I'm going to change this from a paragraph to a quote, which you can see here. So just highlights that bit of text really easily on the screen. Now, what I want to do here is, again, bring this to life with some more rich media and add a video straight inside this piece of content as well. So again, you can upload something. Interact can support uploading imagery and video inside our media manager and categorize that if you wanted to. But if you just want to point this at a URL for something that exists externally, whether that's in something like Microsoft Stream inside your organization, more externally like this one on Vimeo as well, really easy to add that content. And you'll notice that it's adding that straight in here with the loading screen off here, the first frame of that image to bring this to life. Now, what we want to do further down here is I'm just going to space out some content as well. So I'm just going to add this little spacer to do a break between the next type of content I'm going to add, which is, if you remember down here from the layout, an accordion. So these are great for things like FAQs, where you can do these expanding and contracting boxes of text. And we're going to do some, actually, I forgot to add, you know what I forgot to add? I'm going to add just in here a paragraph. I'm going to call this FAQs, bring this to life with some bold up there. Actually, let's just change this to a heading. There we go. And we're going to introduce these FAQs on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we've got our text at the top here. We've added the quote, we've added the video, we've added the image, and now we're going to just fill in the content for these accordions as well. So let's grab this one first. So what is diversity? Add that one in here. In here, we're going to add our paragraph block as we did before, but you'll notice that you can add other types of blocks inside that accordion as well. So that's our first one. We'll add our second one here as well. Inside that one, just expand this one and add our block, paragraph here as well. And add this one in and paste that in there as well. And then our third one, which we'll just paste in here. And there we go. So we've added our accordion block, really easy to do. Let's remove that paragraph block. What I also want to do now is add something called a restricted block. Now, a restricted block, as the name suggests, is a block of content only visible to certain authors. So this is really handy if, let's say you've got a policy that you're putting live across your entire intranet. But in this case, or maybe as we're showing on screen here, in this case, you want to highlight some content that's only visible to a certain cohort of people inside your business, so managers, for example. So you can grab this block of text, this block here, and put whatever you like inside it, and then restrict this to maybe senior management inside your business. So really easy to split that up and show that content, what's public and non-public, and split that up accordingly. So in this case, we've got our block, we've made it visible to one group only. And what we want to do here is add some content that's only relevant to our senior management here, or maybe this is managers internally. So what I actually want to do here, just to be a little bit more clever, is I'm going to add some columns here. I'm going to do a 50-50 split here of the column inside this block. In this first one here, I'm just going to add some text. So in this case, it's some manager training to help them understand this policy a little bit further. So we can see here, we've got manager training. I've just hit return there to add another block, and I'm going to grab some text that gives them a little bit of background on the attachment that I'm about to add on the block on the right side. So in this block here, what we're going to do is add an attachment. I'm going to choose a file that I've already got on my laptop here. So this PDF here. I'm going to show this in one column here on the right hand side. I'm actually going to change the color of the background of this to this one here because I think it looks a little bit better. I can see it's squeezed up just a little bit tight between the end of the accordion link here. So I'm going to just pop in a spacer here, but I'm actually just going to shrink that spacer a little bit so it's not too big. Remove these blocks down here that have we're not going to add any content in here. Just check that my space is okay with this one. Maybe adjust that to be the size of the other one. And there we go. We've got our piece of content published. We've got our title. We've got our content. We've got an imagery in there. We've got the quote. We've got the video. We've got the accordion, and we've got our restricted block as well. So really easy to add that content. Now, what we're going to do now, for the purposes of time, is just dive across the menu options at the top. So the preview option across the top gives you a good indication of what your content's going to look like through various different channels. If you remember back to the PowerPoint presentation, I talked about content promotion down multi-channel. This gives you an indication of what that content will look down the different channels if you choose to promote the content you've just published down those channels. So in this case, we can see what it looks like on desktop. We can see what it looks like on mobile web. We can see what it looks like if you push notifications out into Slack or to Teams, driving people back into the internet, and we're measuring those analytics. We can see what it looks like if an email goes out, or if notifications are published on a mobile device, or even what the content will look like if it comes back on the from search perspective. Further across the top here, we've got translations. Now, Interact has 110 translations available out of the box, all using the Microsoft Azure translation service, and allows you to do real-time translation of that content. So you can see here the translation bar appears on the right-hand side, and the way this works is we can pick any piece of content we like this one, the diversity and inclusion, and we can go in there and make those translations simply by clicking the language or languages that we want. And you'll notice on screen that the content has been passed off to the Microsoft Azure translation service and brought back on screen. Now, what you can do here from an editing point of view is, of course, save this as draft and allow, if you're concerned about it, others to come in and edit or make appropriate changes, or simply just review that content before you publish it fully. Clearly, with any kind of AI-based translation service, it's not quite 100% accurate. So we do allow that option, particularly for more formal pieces of content where you want to make sure that the interpretation of the original version is correct. From a user's perspective, what will happen is that the piece of content, if their profile is set to a certain language, and if that language version is available, then that's the version they'll see first. They won't see it in English and then have to click a flag or a drop down to pick their language. They'll see the language that they picked first. So that's the languages across the top. Now, the more clever feature around Interact, and we spoke about it at the beginning about inclusivity, is around the suggestions tab. This is some really, really innovative stuff inside this block editing experience that, for those who have not seen it on this webinar today, I think you'd be incredibly impressed by. So if we click Analyze Content here, this is using some very clever AI tools to do a number of things that are very, very helpful, not just for anybody who works in internal communications, but particularly for those who do not. So if we start from the bottom, the first thing the AI is doing here is checking, does this page already exist? So it's searching across Interact's database, checking for matches on keywords, titles, etc., trying to detect if any other piece of content already exists that clashes with the piece of content you're looking to promote. So really important from a content governance point of view. The second one is even more impressive. We call this our inclusivity checker. I think anybody who's in internal communications, professional wordsmiths, of course, are very, very aware of the type of language they should use inside their business and the type of language they should not, particularly for more formal content or content being published on behalf of senior management. But for those who have author rights inside your business who may not be aware, think of this a bit like a light Grammarly for your intranet. What it's doing here is flagging content that you may or your authors may have used, language that has been used, and flagging that as potentially non-inclusive. So it's incredibly helpful to jump through that piece of content and over time train your authors to make sure that they are using the right kind of language inside your business. Further at the top here, we have, if you remember, I left this blank, the auto summary. So being intranet aficionados inside the industry, we've learned over time that it's often a step that's skipped by users the summary is often skipped, but it's incredibly useful in the kind of search results or anywhere else that it's shown inside the intranet. And because it's skipped, what we did was built in this incredibly useful suggestion tool, which will take from the text that you've already used and build this summary, which can be edited over time. So really useful just to make life easier for not just for you in internal communications, but for anybody who's got author permissions inside your business. And last but not least, we have our page settings here. So some very clever stuff we can do here as well. First of all, we can pick our associated image that we want to with this. So let's just grab this one off the laptop. But we can start to make some nice setting changes here to this page. So this is the associated image shown on the front end. We've got here where we want this to appear inside our news area. I'm going to tag this with a few different areas. We can pick our topics here if we want to. So let's pick this one against diversity, equity, and inclusion. We might want to classify this as a, let's pick policy inside here. Maybe we've got a confidentiality rating. All of these can be configured accordingly. So what you're seeing in these drop downs is in this demo site only. Maybe we want to include an internal permalink here. So rather than a long URL, you could put something like diversity or whatever it might be. Here we could do something like best bets. So if sorry, I'm struggling to spell here. So if you're looking to add quick search terms, so if somebody searches for diversity in the search, this will be the page that's at the top of the search results above everything else. And we could add keywords, etc. as well down here. From an author perspective, we've got who that author is. So you saw that from when we first logged in terms of Julia. But we've also got published as, so you can ghostwrite on behalf of somebody else. Of course, we've got our content lifecycle management, when this is published on, when it expires, and when it needs reviewing. Really important settings in terms of content governance that generate those auto alerts that allow us to see those warnings and make changes over time. Interact also comes with an optional, and can be switched off, of course, public page settings. So on rare occasions, we have customers that want to make pages completely public, so you don't have to be authenticated to access. And if you do this, you can switch on public pages, which of course can be indexed by Google. You can show who they're displayed as, you can and allow social advocacy around those pages as well, and various other settings here. So you can turn comments on and off, etc. So really easy to do that. Once we've finished with all of our settings and we've done our languages, we can save and publish. It had the suggestions because of you guys. We've not changed that yet. We can also choose to target people here. So if we want to alert various people that this has been published, we can save this as a draft at this point, or we can simply publish. And once we hit publish, this is published to our intranet. So our content is now published on our intranet, and you can see the front end of the interface here. So this is what a page looks like for a user as they're browsing it, as it appears. Maybe on the home page, they clicked it and gone into it. So let's just scroll up and down and have a look at the different features that we added. So you can see here, a user can subscribe to this, they can favorite this. You can see we've got a Spanish version in here if we want to, and we've got like and share on the left-hand side here as well. You'll also notice as we start to scroll that this little cog here will start to display how far we are through the article as we start to scroll. And you can see there's confidentiality ratings, etc., that we added before. As we scroll down here, we can see there's paragraphs of text that we added, the image that we added, the other paragraph here, the quote, the video that's embedded here, the FAQs with the accordions that people can expand if they want to, and further down here, the restricted block. So this would only be shown to, if you remember, senior department or senior managers, and would not be shown to standard users on the system, and people can, those managers can then download that PDF if they want to as well. Further down the bottom here, we have who the author is. We can see we added that keyword and or the topic around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've got private feedback back to the author here. So if you spot something on here that you're not happy about and you want to reply to the author in particular, but privately, not in public comment, you can do that as well. And of course, down here, we have commenting on here, and you can tag in any kind of content that you like inside the intranet as well. So really easy to see that from a front end perspective. The next part of the journey as an author is to choose whether you want to further promote this piece of content using that multi-channel that we saw before. This is permission driven, of course, but you'll see from these three dots on the right hand side here, the promotion tab. Now, these can be switched on and off depending on what you want to plug into or don't want to plug into, whether you want to use Interact's native digital signage, whether you want to use Slack rather than Teams or Teams rather than Slack, whether you don't want SMS enabled, for example. But these are all the options that you have from a front-end perspective, from an author perspective, to continue to promote the reach of this piece of content down multiple channels to expand the reach. So, for example, you might choose to use SMS for more offline employees. You might choose to use email for your frontline workers. You might choose to use Teams for your knowledge workers that spend a lot of time inside Teams. Or you might choose to use a combination of all of these scheduled at different times. So if I wanted to use SMS, for example, I can start typing my message. I can schedule this if I want to. If I wanted to use Teams, for example, I can pick the team I want. Maybe it's a really popular team that most people are in, and I can schedule that accordingly as well. The really clever thing outside of all of those options is also that Interact also ships with a feature called Auto Engage. So over time, when data builds up over channel popularity and reach conversion, the Auto Engage feature will enable and simply allow authors to click that slider down the bottom down here. And what that will do is pick and choose not only the channels the AI thinks is most effective, but also the time at which to send it as well. So really powerful in terms of that promotion. So the final part of the block editor experience is the analytics. I've just jumped into a slightly different site here so I can show you some pre-published analytics to give you a true indication of what this might look like. Now, from a front-end perspective, again, it's permission-based, so only if you have author privileges can you see this, but from this drop-down menu where we saw the promote before, we can see page analytics. And now page analytics is simply analytics gathered on this page itself, not the holistic analytics suite, which is a separate overall view of all the analytics, including the warnings we spoke around content governance before. But this is simply analytics gathered on this page only. And we've pre-populated this with dummy analytics, so you can give you an indication of what this kind of page could look like over time. So the first thing that you can see down here is the source/medium. So what this is essentially doing is giving you conversion rate and analyzing the reach of that multi-channel that we saw before. So this pie chart here is built up with made up conversion statistics of the reach of those tools, is in the total views, and the percentage split of how many people over time are visiting visiting this page from each of those channels. So you can see that a lot of people are arriving at this page from Microsoft 365 Teams and from email as well. You'll also notice on this pie chart that there is a conversion from MailChimp. So if I just take you over to the right-hand side here, if you are looking to promote content from another source, not inside Interact, you can create trackable links here from the right-hand side using a traditional UTM link with their source, medium, and campaign, etc. Grab that link, build that link, grab that link, and use that link to link back to the article, to the page on Interact from another system, which of course Interact will then track as we go through. Further across the top here, we've got the search queries and how people arrived at this page, whether people are coming through this via digital signage, and various other advanced information as well. As we scroll further down here, we can start to see visitor time. So when do your users visit over time? And we can do this via daily, monthly, etc. And pre-build these graphs, as we can see from this dummy content here. We can even do dimension comparison. So if we're looking for views versus unique visitors, for example, we can start to see that over time. We can see that via hourly down here versus total views versus unique visitors. And further down the bottom, we've got our organizational statistics. So people visiting from different departments. If you were one or multiple companies inside the same brand, we could split that up as well, or by location as well. And then right down at the bottom here, we can see people who are subscribing to this page. Potentially, if you're running mandatory read on this page, because you want to make sure people have read and understood it, and you can send reminders. What best bets are on this page, or removing best bets if you want to force it to the top of the search results, which people have viewed this page over time, and if there were any attachments, who's downloaded these attachments over time as well. So some fantastic analytics, particularly here, to really measure the conversion rates of those mediums that we saw, the promotion channels, which in turn are then used for that auto engage as we build up that richness of data. So that's the final part of our block editing journey there, that rich analytics behind the scenes. Well, I hope you agree there's some amazing features inside that editing experience. And I really want to thank you all for taking the time and listening to me. And if you are interested, please be in touch through either the forums or on our website, and we'll be happy to arrange a more personal demonstration for your company. Before we finish this webinar, I just wanted to highlight what's next on the agenda from our amazing marketing team. And that's this brilliant interview. It's actually in collaboration with Reagan, this transforming the NBA's employee experience from a pass to a score. And the guys at the NBA have done a brilliant job of engaging their employees. And on August 25th, in collaboration with Reagan, we'll be broadcasting an interview with various members of the team who helped put the whole experience together. So finally, thank you for attending. If you do need any more information on this or anything else you've seen, please visit our website or our social channels. But once again, thank you. My name's Scott Hitchens. It's been a pleasure to take you through the software today and speak to you soon. Thank you.